I had the foundation of learning the Bible from a religious lens, but now I look at the Bible and the Gospels through a quantum physics lens, from a more esoteric lens, where I understand the Bible on a neurological level. I understand the quantum science behind the word. The church conditioned me to define my womanhood and value by being a man's wife and being a mother of children.
Do you feel like being a woman is undervalued? Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to another episode of Wholistic Conversations. I'm your host, Brittany, and if you are someone that's into personal development, spiritual growth, or if you're simply on a journey to becoming the best version of yourself, then you are in the right place. So welcome. And if you are someone that's new to Wholistic Conversations, thank you so much for tuning in. Your support means the most. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned, because today's conversation, oh man, get ready and buckle up your seatbelts, because I want to take you on a journey. So today I have a phenomenal guest, an artist, a musician. She goes by the name Toni Jones. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I have to do a proper introduction for you, because you are so phenomenal, and I just know how impactful your music is. I discover you from listening to your music. So for me, sitting here with you, it's like a dream come true. So Toni Jones is a pioneering Affirmation musician dedicated to promoting self-love. And she has a genre that's not touched or tapped in yet. So make sure you all look up Toni Jones. She has some amazing music, all right? She has a background in psychology and life coaching. And she integrates the understanding of human behavior into her music, creating a transformative experience for her listeners. Her impactful work has significant recognition. She's been featured in publications such as Forbes, Essence, and her single Take Up Space Sis was featured on a Showtime series called The Chi. And if you're from The Chi, make sure you like this, because I'm a Chicago woman as well. I was born there. So, got to shout out The Chi. Toni 5 projects collectively has over 20 million streams, reflecting her world-spread influence with her message of self-love. Her commitment to spreading the language of self-love through affirmations continue to inspire and empower individuals. All right? So I'm so excited to just dive right into your journey, and let's discover and unfold the journey of
Absolutely.
Toni Jones.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Sharing my message, sharing my music with your community.
Thank you so
let's
much.
get right into it.
Look, let's get right into it, because we live in a world where women, we don't value ourselves. And we have a hard time looking in the mirror and accepting who we truly are. So take me through your journey, because that's why I'm going to start there, right? Okay. We go reverse it back and go through your childhood and upbringing. Okay. But I feel like starting off this podcast, I really want to talk about how can we develop self-worth as women?
I would have to say, I would love to start with, it was the retreats I went to. It was the podcast. It was the books. It was the programs I entered. But it wasn't through the information of learning and knowledge where I was able to develop self-esteem. It was through destruction. It was through allowing myself to break and feel the pain of all the false ways I based my self-esteem on, allowing that to crumble. My identity started with growing up in church as a child, Pentecostal, apostolic, so shouting every Sunday, choir rehearsal, youth retreats, Bible study, all the things. So I grew up with an understanding of God, the unseen world, through the religious lens. And I had awakening. And I always talk about this online, when I'm sharing my story. I had an awakening and I was in the middle of service and everybody was shouting and praising God. Pastor was laying hands and everything. And I was doing it too. I was like, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. And
Yeah.
then in the middle of it, like it was like I zoomed out and it felt like I was underwater. And I won't say it felt like I was underwater. It sounded like I was underwater. And I remember the questioning hit me and it asked me, what if this wasn't real? And I was like, hold on, where is this coming from? And then I was able to see everything that was going on in the church. The energy of it felt like ancestral trauma. Now, I didn't have that language back then, but the terminology that I did understand back then was like, this feels like we have energy of like slavery. Like it's sad. Nobody's smiling. There's no joy. And so I ran out of church because I was scared of this curiosity that
And
hit
how old
me.
were you at this time?
I had to be a teenager.
Okay.
That was my first awakening.
Okay.
And so, long story short, I ran out to the parking lot, I was crying, and then I ran back in the back of the church, and I went to the bathroom, and I was very dramatic. Okay, I'm an Aries.
Yeah.
And so I went in the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, I said, God, if you're real, you got to show me, you got to manifest, or I'm going to live my life for me. And I was a real, like, Jesus girl. I was going to all the Christian concerts, all the things, right? So I was very passionate about my beliefs. And then so I go back into service, and the pastor was singing this song called We Need a Word from the Lord. And he said someone in the service just challenged God to reveal himself to them. And at that moment, I was like, oh, I'm connected to something. I have a direct line to something. That began my journey of having an esteem about being connected to something that didn't need a pastor, didn't need a book, didn't need any type of medium. I was already connected without effort. And all I needed was to have a genuine open heart to challenge, what was out there to reveal itself to me. That was where it began. And girl, when I tell you so many juicy details that happened in between then and now,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to say that is where I start. I challenged the unseen world to reveal itself to me because this curiosity was coming out of nowhere. Sometimes we try to suppress it. Sometimes we're so afraid of that voice that says, hey, Toni, you're more. Hey, Brittany, you're more. Hey, John, you're more. And we're like, hey, I got to get these bills. I got to stay in this marriage. I got to,
Yeah.
But when you say, you know what? I don't know what this is that's yelling inside of myself, this voice. But okay, you want to say that there's more? Show me. Show me, so I can be confident and have high self-esteem of what I'm connected to that's higher than my physical reality. So I would say that's where I started.
Right.
Again, I can say like 100,000 other different things that
Yes.
edified my self-esteem, but it began where I was revealed that I have a connection to something higher.
And it wasn't necessarily you looking in the mirror and seeing Toni. It was something outside of you, something more powerful. It was something
yes.
that was more than just Toni, the person, the
Yeah,
human.
absolutely.
Right?
And I was connected to it. So I'm like, okay,
And
if
it like gave you power, right?
absolutely. And so when the pastor came back and said, I was just like, wait a minute. This feels like a Wi-Fi. Like I'm connected to something. And once I saw that, I was like, oh, and that began my journey of seeking.
That curiosity turns into seeking.
Yeah.
Did you have an open space? Like you said, you were in this church community. I'm assuming your parents is who brought you to the church. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you have a conversation with your parents after that moment? Or did you have a safe space or someone to go to
I
talk to
never
that
told
about?
anyone. As it was personal to me.
Yeah.
It was, but me and my mom talked about God all the time. She got me a book called God Chasers and another book called Sacred Romance. And both of these books are Christian based.
Okay.
And she gave me these books because I had this radical thirst for God, for divinity. I remember one time, this is a funny story, y'all. This is so dramatic. I remember one time my mom was holding me. I was crying. I was like, crying. She was holding me. I was on the floor, and she was on the floor with me, holding me. And this was like when I was a teenager, and I just kept saying, I want more of God. I want more of God. Why can't I do miracles? Like I was crying, like wailing. And my mom was just like, it's okay, baby, it's okay. And my dad, but don't laugh, y'all. My dad came in and was like, what's wrong with her? And my mom was like, get out of here, Daryl, get out of here. It's okay. But I always had this yearning and thirst because when I was reading the Bible, I was like, why did he get to do all of this? Why did he get to do all of this? Why can I be like Moses? See, God speak to me through a tree. So I always had this yearning. So my mom, I shared with some of the things that I was yearning for, the things I had a thirst for. My spirit had an appetite for something more than my physical experience. But the deep things that I was going through that I didn't completely understand or comprehend, I kept that to myself because the religious world, they stone you if you starting to question, the establishment. So I kept it to myself. It was very personal. I journaled about it, wrote poems about it, but I didn't really communicate it with others.
And what would you say was some of the insecurities or some of the things you necessarily didn't like about yourself? What was those things before you found that awakening? It's like, okay, there's more in me. I'm connected. What were some of the things you were struggling with?
I struggled with the birthmark on my eye. If y'all can see, I have a very undeniable, recognizable birthmark on my eye. And growing up, I was just, how kids are. It's just like, you're different. Even going into my teenage years, it was like, she's different. She's weird. She's stylish. Why does she dress like that? So I felt... it wasn't an insecurity. I felt like I didn't belong. That's where the insecurity came from. Now, as I went into my adulthood, the insecurity became because I was so wise and I knew so much about wellness and spirituality and women's empowerment, but I had this deep insecurity of not being able to handle my finances. I overspent. I also had a deep insecurity around being so thirsty for men's attention. I was just like, why am I like this? Who did this to me?
Yeah.
So it was just like being so confident online, being so confident when I spoke at, different speaking events and mentoring young people and my clients. It was like I still had these real insecurities around my finances and my love life. So I would say those are some strong insecurities that I had in the past.
And did you create any practices to help further the connection you had once you had that awakening? Did you implement any practices, or like you said, you had several awakenings, right?
I had several, yeah.
So were there anything that you implemented in your life to make sure you sustained your self-worth?
I will have to say the only thing I knew to do was seek information.
Okay.
I knew that I wanted to know more. I had a hunger. It's
more
not
about the world or more about yourself, or more just about
the world of spirituality. How do I hack my BS? It was like, because I was aware, because I got my degree in psychology, which led me to being a neuroscience nerd. Everything about human behavior, I just ate up, okay?
Yeah.
That let me see that I had the possibility of hacking my program that was passed down to me from generations. So I was like, how do I do this? I know I can't do it alone. I still find myself in these financial and romantic trappings.
Yeah.
So for me, it was about going into programs, going into retreats, signing up for mentorship. So I was just trying to get knowledge as much as possible to change myself. That was my mindset then.
Right, because you understood our conditioning is not who we are. And there's more, and there's an unlearning process that can happen to make us better.
Absolutely.
So once you understand that, I feel like then you on this continuous journey of always becoming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Becoming, and it's an evolution.
Well, you know what? It became. I would say, in the past few years, it's been more so about remembering.
I like that.
It's like been remembering. It's like who have always been, the core of who I am. And then remembering that, and then so when I recognize these familiar patterns that are not me, just part of the conditioning of having a personality, the ego being brought into a society that is, rooted in colonialism and capitalism. It's a part of that, but that ain't me. You know what I'm saying? I remember who I am as source, pure love, energy that is wrapped up in this flesh that has all of these labels and identities of experience as a physical being. So it's less about becoming. It was about becoming because that's how I understood it. But once I realized becoming was burning me out,
Right.
and I was like, I'll never achieve this.
It's like a perfection. Like I gotta,
Growth is not an event. It's a constant process of cycles and seasons.
Yes.
And it's not linear. It has so many ebbs and flows, and it's messy. So once I was like, remembering was the process, remembering was it, I was like, so remembering happens when you know, when you know who you are. Everything else that comes up against that, you can say, oh, let me swipe left on that. I'm not going to over-identify with that, even though I've been familiar with that in the past, that was me. But that's not me, you know?
So what's one piece of advice you can give to women that are struggling to build that connection with themselves to remember, right? Because it's a becoming to remember who you truly are. So what's one piece of advice you can give to someone that's on that journey to remembering who they are?
Wow. And when I like to give advice, I try not to give it in a way like I have a universal recipe for everybody that's going to guarantee you the results.
Right.
It's first of all, I would say it's very important to understand you have a customized journey.
Yes.
It's very customized that only you can access. Stillness, spending time in nature, take some space and time away from the books, information. Cry a little bit. Just sit with yourself. See what comes up with you, within you.
Yeah.
I would like to give gentle advice when it comes to what to do next for this type of result. The gentle advice I would give, get quiet, spend some time in nature, listen to yourself, be in practice with how noisy it is within yourself, how quiet it is. Do you resist the silence? You see what I'm saying? So that's what I would advise women who are trying to connect with themselves.
And as we go on a journey, sometimes we can be hard on ourselves if you're not getting it right. Once you identify your errors or your humanness, and be like, oh, wow, like, okay, maybe I do have low self-esteem. Maybe I am a little rude. You know what I'm saying? How do one continuously find compassion for themselves along the journey?
I would say, okay, for me.
Yes.
If it lands for everybody, great. If it doesn't, hey, I don't know what to tell you. But what worked for me was like watching cartoons, eating my favorite snacks. It was reconnecting to the inner child. Just remembering, like I'm telling my age here, but I'm 88. But my favorite cartoons was Jim and the Holograms, Rainbow Bright, and My Little Pony. And going back there, just going back to that time, like watching that is very nostalgic. It does something to you on a neurological level. It eases your nervous system about being so angst and urgent about all the mundane things of being a responsible adult, businesswoman, mother, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So I would say, I know it may sound silly or may not sound like scientifically proven, but for me to be gentle and compassionate with myself, it's like, Toni, what do you enjoy? What can you do that's not attached to goals? It's not attached to self-help. It's not about achieving or becoming better, but it's just pure enjoyment. Yeah. So I would say, like, connect with the things that you actually enjoyed as a child and see what happens when you do that.
Yeah. Or if you're someone out there that maybe didn't have a good childhood where you felt like a kid, I would say explore and try different things, you know, things that you might wanted to try, whether that's drawing. You're like, oh man, I used to draw, but I never really took it on as a kid. Try drawing. You know what I really love?
What?
Doing a puzzle.
I do too.
A puzzle. Oh my gosh, it is
fun.
Yes. Once you start connecting,
and then also buy toys that you never got. Like, I always wanted this toy. Like, You know what I'm saying? Things
Yeah.
like that. You can restore your childhood, even just as you said,
Right.
even if you didn't have the ideal one that you deserve. You know?
Even a good game I play with my daughters, Bop It. That always
Bop
like
it.
Bop It. I'm
Yes,
like,
I
yo, this
remember
is so
Bop.
cool.
I remember Bop it.
Yeah. So for anyone out there, make sure you be compassionate with yourself on the journey to becoming the best version of yourself, because it's not going to be easy all the time. It can get pretty, right? But when you're struggling and going through those times, make sure you just take some time to yourself. Pause for a second, take some deep breaths. And like Toni said, find something you enjoy.
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's interesting you grew up in church, right? Sometimes, our religion can have a big impact on our values, our beliefs, and our morals, and how we identify as a person, right? I went to church, I would say, we were more holiday church people.
Okay.
Christmas,
Easter.
Easter,
Got it.
So I remember, going to sleep a lot of times in church. So what is something you learned in your childhood from church that you still carry with you today?
Oh man, the scriptures. The
What's your favorite
scriptures,
one?
praise and worship. Oh, I have so many. I would have to say, okay, I'll give you two because those are my.
Okay.
One is love God with your heart, mind, and soul. Love your neighbor as you love thyself. If you do this, this law, all the entire law, you fulfill the entire law of God if you do that. Love God with your heart, mind, and soul. Love your neighbor as you love thyself. That's one of my favorite scriptures. And the other one is, lest you change and become like a child, you will not enter the kingdom of God. Those are my favorite two scriptures. If I was to pick just two scriptures out the whole entire Bible that Toni Jones bases her entire life on, is those two scriptures.
So how would you say growing up in a church environment shaped your relationship with spirituality?
Oh, everything. It put me on game.
Yeah.
It's the foundation of my moral compass and my understanding of the biblical tone and context of the scriptures and the gospels. Because now I had the foundation of learning the Bible from a religious lens, but now I look at the Bible and the Gospels through a quantum physics lens, from a more esoteric lens, where I understand the Bible on a neurological level. I understand the quantum science behind the word, and it's just phenomenal for me because I have more of an understanding of it, more than an understanding like this is an organized religion modality to direct your life and it's the only truth. It's opened up a whole world to where I can see the scriptures in the wind, in the trees, and eating fruit, with laughing with friends. The word is constantly revealed to me. But that foundation,
Yeah.
it's like that foundation of being in the word like that, being taught all my whole entire life, it's like it's in overflow now, the understanding of it, because it's translated into my embodiment. Because going through those channels of learning psychology, neuroscience, studying spirituality, learning from Abraham Hicks, Dr. Joe Dispenza, all of these individuals, it's like I can see and hear the scriptures. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just more alive to me.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say all of it, my whole upbringing in the church put me on game.
Wow.
To my spirituality.
That is so profound. I feel like that is profound because you have some individuals that are raised in the church and completely go against it once they find out the other side of spirituality, where they disassociate with the church. They say, this
That's
is not
because
for
the ego
me.
is mad.
It's like, why would they teach me this and this? Whereas you have other individuals that can bridge the gap and that can see the connection with the Bible and with spirituality.
Yes.
And you speak of some profound people, Abraham Hicks, Joe Dispenza. Those are some of my favorite people. So it makes sense why we're here.
I got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Having this conversation. So what is something that allowed you to bridge that gap and not be upset about the things the church life taught you?
Love.
Yeah.
love. You know, that scripture that says, love yourself as you love your neighbor. You know, love your neighbor as you love thyself, and love God with your heart, mind, and soul. And on these two laws hang the whole law of God. I knew if I couldn't walk on water and turn water into wine, if I couldn't do all these things and teleport and all of these things, if I can't do that, then let me figure out how to love. And my walk with learning about love, it required me to die to versions of me that were not loving, you know, that were taught to me to, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, I would say that what bridged the gap was that love walk with myself. Like, how do I love my neighbor if I don't love myself? How
Right.
can I love God with my heart, mind, and soul when my mental health is out of whack? You know what I'm saying? So it's being open. And it's not even like a specific thing that you have to do. It's just being able to, you know, take a breath and say, I'm open to what love has to teach me while I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, what don't I know about love yet? What potential do I have within myself to experience love in ways I never imagined? You know, it's just being open and curious to love in that way. I would definitely say that's what bridged the gap to where I didn't criticize, I didn't shame my upbringing. And I think I would say in my early 20s, I had a little
You had a little
stank on
spunk
my,
in you,
I had
yeah.
that little stank like, y'all niggas don't know nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all don't know
Yeah.
the truth. Like, I went through that. I think we all go through that zealous period of realizing some truth and being very, you know, zealous about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, that died down real quick when I got humbled with just having that understanding that love is all that matters.
And that makes me think about, you know, when you love, that means you're accepting, like you said, you were able to accept everyone's truth
Man.
for what it is. Like, okay, yes, the church has this. My parents taught me this. I'm not going to judge nobody. I'm going to have love, but that requires a level of humanness within yourself to see that within other people and to understand that with others. So what does being human mean to you?
Now I feel like I'm about to cry.
Yeah, it's okay. I
Because
might
it's
cry
like,
too.
you know, you growing up, you learn about this man named Jesus and how, did you ever see Passions of the Christ?
I haven't.
It's a older movie. It's, I mean, it can, I don't know what year it came out of, but it was a very gruesome film by Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson, and the one that played Jesus, I think his name was Jim Caviezel. That was the actor. And it was very gruesome because it actually gave you physical, like visuals for the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And so when you learn about this process, you think this really happened to this physical being, okay?
Yeah.
But through the journey of the death rebirth process of coming back to your humanity, that crucifixion is really dying to the versions of you that you have attached to as who you are. And so for me, I have looked at my humanity as you die to that, but you rise to the higher levels of your nature, your godlike state, your divine state.
Yeah.
You go to this heavenly state and you're like, oh my gosh, you experience the euphoria of this wisdom and revelation, but you come back to the body, just like Jesus. He rose, and he came back to the body where people saw him physically. This story tells a story of what it means to be human, to be able to go to these higher channels, these higher levels of your nature as a divine being, but come back to the body, ground yourself, drink some water,
Yeah.
move your body. You know what I'm saying? Have some fun, laugh, pay your bills, do some laundry, ground yourself in the human experience, you know, get your credit up. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we may not like these matrix things and responsibilities, because I don't like them all the time either.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a part of the journey. So when I attempt to define the human experience, it's about being able to go through that death rebirth process and understand that all of nature does that. All of nature does that. We have seasons, we have cycles, but we've been so conditioned to attach to the higher levels of success, of being a human or having this or being this and achieving this. But we don't come back. We don't want to go to the humble states of being able to nurture the ground in our foundation of
Yeah.
ourselves. So I said a lot, but I really think the human experience is really allowing the cycles and seasons of growth, just allowing that to happen. And I'm going to say I have the best relationship with that process. I still be annoyed, like, who designed this? Let me
Right.
talk to the manager.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when I tap in, I'm just like, wow, the beauty of it, of the messiness, the triumph of it. It's like, wow, what an incredible narrative for all of humanity to tap into. But it's growth.
Yeah. And I feel like in the world today, we have disconnected so much from our humanness and from the humanness of other people. Because to be human is to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
To be human is to be insecure. To be human is to share who you are with the world unapologetically.
Yeah.
And that's what most people are afraid of, to be themselves.
Yes.
Because being yourself and being human and standing in all of that means that people can reject you. And people
Yes.
cannot accept you for who you truly are.
And you have to learn how to regulate your nervous system to not give a AF about that.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to be so committed to being interested and devoted to how does my life feel to me more than how does my life look like to other people. One of my favorite artists right now, have to shout out to her. Her name is Doechii. Love her, not just because of her art, but because of her journey is so undeniable of what she went through and what she initiated herself into to unapologetically show up, not authentic, but pure rawness. I have fully accepted and surrendered my whole entire life to my humanity and to my divinity. And she embodies that like so beautifully, and I think we should all gift ourselves that, even if it's not you completely surrendered, just affirm that I'm more willing that today more than I was yesterday or last year to open to surrendering to who I truly am as a human and divine being.
Exactly. And like you say, remembering and discovering the aspects of your humanity, because in the world we get a lot of things put on us on who we should be. Women should act like this. Women should be like this. And even, in the church, it could be an image of how you as a woman should supposed
For
to show
sure.
up, right? So what is something that you had that they taught you in church about the woman you're supposed to be? And is there anything that you had to unlearn about that process of?
Yeah, that I was supposed to be in service to a man. And I was supposed to be a good wife and a good mom. Like, and I had to listen to a pastor to get the word of God. You don't read and study about the women in the Bible. Now, I will say one of my favorite scriptures. It was so funny because my mom used to put me in these silly pageants growing up. But my talent was always reciting Proverbs 31 over piano music. So it's very interesting how things come full circle. But Proverbs 31 was about a wife, who can find a virtuous woman. It was all about this woman who was a wife and she was great in the community, great to her husband and her family, her household. So it's like that was a highlight of my conditioning of defining my womanhood, was like how I measured on how I am as, a married woman and as a mother. And I was married for 8 years because that was what all the girls was doing. We get married, we get pregnant. My mom raised me to be a wife. So I really absolutely loved to clean and cook for my husband. It was like a thing that I had pride with, but just through time, it was just like, it felt like I'm an employee. I'm employed to him. And me working 3 jobs, me doing the laundry. I'm like, ain't no way, I'm about to bring your babies into this, you know? So I chose not to have children. But, I think that conditioning of identifying your womanhood through that, because even after my divorce, I was going from situation to situation, relationship to relationship, because no matter how amazing I was, no matter what type of things I was doing and creating in the world, within my own purpose in life, in business and entrepreneurship, I still had that aching feeling like I'm not fulfilled. I'm not a true woman if I'm not married and if I have not had kids. You know, I'm only 2 years into this kind of decentering that whole mindset out of my life to where my value is not defined by that. But for sure, that was the church. The church conditioned me to define my womanhood and value by being a man's wife and being the mother of children.
Yeah. And do you feel like being a woman and showing up in our womanness is undervalued?
It's, yeah, but not in a way where it's like shame on men or shame on church. It's the puppetry of engineering a society
Right.
that has conditioned all knowledge, instruction, education, and business that says this is what femininity is, this is what womanhood is. So it's the ignorance that we should be really addressing, heal the ignorance, because we have just loads of information we have access to. So the devaluing comes from the puppetry of who engineered our society to base a society on a patriarchy that serves the male ego. It doesn't even serve men. It serves a male ego.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because the men have suffered from patriarchy just as much as we have.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So we've all been robbed of being able to value ourselves for the core of who we truly are, which is being made in the image of God.
Yes.
You know, period. But I could talk about that for the next few hours because of so much has come to me spiritually and just knowledge-wise, information-wise on the power of women.
Yeah. And it was so interesting. As I was doing my research on you, you're having an interesting dialogue about women showing up for their man, in the sense of us women, we desire for our men to be our best friend. And that's not necessarily the case because we're missing sisterhood in our womanhood.
Yes, a lot of women are seeking women in men. We want a woman. You know what I mean? The fantasy that we've been sold is this man that's like a woman.
Yeah.
The characteristics of women and femininity are in us. We should be seeking our happily ever after with sisterhood.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. Whatever male that is magnetized towards that centering sisterhood, centering your godhood, then if it's healthy, if it is attractive and in alignment, yes, welcome him into the fold. But I believe personally, for me in my world, the way it's evolving into my understanding of the roles of men and women, is sisterhood is where it's at.
Yeah.
And I think even if you're married, your marriage should have healthy, wholesome sisterhood, not none of this perverted type, you know what I'm saying, stuff. I'm talking about really having healthy community is where it's at. Having a village is really what the true modality of family is, not just a nuclear family. It's a lot to raise kids and raise yourself. So we need that community type incubator to raise us all up, you know?
Yeah. I also feel like, you know, one of the most important things we could have is sisterhood. And for instance, shout out to my sis Key. I met her and I just feel like, and I have other women too that's in my life that, you know, we create a sisterhood. And without them, I'm like, where would I be? You know what I'm saying? Because a man can pour into you, but they don't understand us because we're women. We're biologically wired different. So with your sister, it's a level of understanding. You know, sometimes you don't even have to say anything. They just know it. You know what I'm saying? So it's already a deep and profound connection. But unfortunately, based off television shows, reality TV, sisterhood is at a separation. We don't like other women. It's like we're competition. You know what I'm saying? We're all striving for, let's say, this man, and we're all going against each other trying to get the man.
It starts with ourselves, though.
You think so?
It starts with ourselves because, that's I feel like that is definitely a valid perspective for a mainstream perspective, if you
Yeah.
will. But in my personal life, I affirm and I speak into existence and I project onto my reality. I know what it feels like to have unhealthy, underlying sisterhood. Got enough data from that. But this is what I deserve.
Yeah.
This is what my inner child deserves. This is what my divine self deserves. This is what my human version of myself deserve. I deserve aligned, healthy, connecting, juicy sisterhood that
Yeah.
is thriving and supportive. And once you start to experience that, it's like, oh, game over.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
I'm the authorizer of the type of culture I have when it comes to my connections and my relationships, despite what I've experienced,
Yes.
despite what I attract. I get to decide who gets to stay, And so I think no matter what we see in our reality or in reality TV or on television and entertainment and in music, at the end of the day, we get to determine and write that script of our narrative in sisterhood. It's about what you want. And then once you do that, once I do that, once each woman does that, we create a whole new narrative around sisterhood. And I think it's
Yeah.
already started.
And we're creating a web, right?
Absolutely.
Because okay, if I have a sisterhood with Key, then Key got a sisterhood with so and so, and you get what I'm saying? It's a web of women slowly connecting hands and all coming together with the shared mission of support, nurturing, and just being there for one another.
Yes. And I believe that if you really love men and you want friendships, you want healthy romantic partnerships with men, that's the best act you can do is give yourself sisterhood. Give yourself yourself. Because what you do is you force the man to not bypass his work to connect to source through you, but to connect source through him and through brotherhood. Because if he doesn't have a supply,
Ooh.
where does he go?
Exactly.
You either sink or you swim, brother, So it's like we're doing ministry work for the men too by saying, you know what? I'm going to cut the cord of being codependent on your acceptance, your attention, you're choosing me belonging to you, me serving you. I'm going to cut that cord and I'm going to center God. I'm going to center my well-being. And this is the best gift I can give to both of us.
Yes.
And
for you all out there, this is why personal development is so important, because it's getting to know you.
Absolutely.
It's getting to know what works for you. What do I believe? What do I want? What type of friends and sisterhood do I want to build? Do I want to build sisterhood of women where we, accomplish our goals and, live our best life? Or do I want a sisterhood where we can just have fun together and we can go out and party? Like, it's different categories, but it all starts with you identifying what you want in the sisterhood and what you want within yourself.
And that's where
because a lot of times too, who we are is what we attract.
Absolutely.
So if you're not okay with yourself, you're going to attract other women that's not okay with themselves. And unfortunately, sometimes those sisterhoods don't last long. Like I have a best friend it's been over a decade since we've been friends. And if we don't talk in 3 months, it's interesting when we talk again, we're like mentally on the same page. Like, girl, I'm going through this. It was like, what? Yo, I'm going through the same thing. And it's like, we ain't even talk, but it's, you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I do know what you're saying. And that's where affirmations come in to be such an important part of you being able to declare a new narrative for you, to magnetize and attract the people that are aligned to you. You have to create the language of the relationships that you want to have. And that language starts with affirmations, you know?
And this is a perfect time to go into your artist journey.
Okay, period.
So, I do know a little bit about, you're a wellness coach for women. Is that correct?
I was.
Yes. And then you wanted to create music that inspired them, the group.
I prayed. I was like, because, I was in the boss bitch area. When I was talking about wellness and spirituality and mental health, that was not in our timelines. So it was like, God, I need something to help me, because I feel like I'm burning myself out with all this emotional labor to help these modern day women, high achieving women, understand how to center their lives through wellness without having to abandon their ambition.
Right.
And so I was like, what? I need an idea so they can practice wellness on the go. And I always say this, I don't know if I prayed that and went to sleep or I had woke up and meditated on that and prayed it, but the idea came like lightning. It was like affirmation music. So when I went online, I Googled affirmation music. It was not Googleable. I was like, what in the heck? So I get to do this? Like, this is something. So I started to search different people who may have put words on music. And when I was listening to them, because Nikki Giovanni did it too. She put her poetry on. Rest in peace, Nikki Giovanni. She just passed away, transitioned, I believe a week ago or so. But she put words on music. So I'm not the first one to come up with this concept of putting words over music. But the way that I wanted to do affirmation music, I wanted it to hit a certain way. I wanted it to vibe a certain way because I had a vision of what will women be doing when they push play on this music. I saw them living their lifestyles. It's literally a soundtrack for the way that they already live, but they're healing on the go.
Yes.
They're practicing wellness on the go. You know what I'm saying? They're feeling their feelings on the go. They're able to hold space for self-awareness on the go. And I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So I saw this as a tool for me to boost my coaching business. I have a unique signature product service. I use music. That's what I thought I was going, I had every intention of being a successful life coach, not no artist, not no musician that gets on stage. That wasn't even on my vision board. I really was disgusted by the idea of being an artist or anything like that. So it was just very surprising. I'm still in awe, like, who am I? What I do? This is real?
Yeah.
You know?
No, for sure. I think we all have those moments, especially when you're on the journey.
Yeah.
Right? I still literally... And I'm at like 7,000 followers on Instagram. I'm like, yo, it's 7,000 people that likes what I'm doing. I'm like flabbergasted every time, whether it's 7,000 or 10,000 views on a podcast episode. I don't think that feeling will ever go away of like, yo, this is really happening. People are really enjoying it and taking away information. And I'm able to help people and so many people by just showing up, like you say, raw, because it was still from a raw state. It was from a place of wanting to help, even though it's still aligned with your business, right? Because that is important, right? And it's a value add. And you provided people with convenience to self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care, we can go in the mirror, we can do our facial, we can sit down, we can meditate, but self-care on the go?
Yeah.
Come on.
Push play.
That's
all you got to do.
And one of my favorite songs, Take Up Spaces, Energy Bucket. Those are the ones.
Bucket, girl, budget.
I'm sorry. Come on. Boom. See?
Comedy relief. Comedy relief. We good.
Bucket,
Energy bucket is hilarious. Wait, I could write a song about that though.
But those are some of my favorite songs you produce because they're empowering. It makes you feel full and whole and energized and feel like you can just take on the world.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yes. So you're doing a good job.
Thank you so much.
What you're doing is actually working, right? So that's beautiful. And I just, got to say thank you for that because it can really take somebody out of a state of feeling unworthy. It can take people out of a state of feeling depressed. It can just allow people a breath of fresh air, a sense of relief. Like, okay, you know what? I am worthy, know? And as you're saying it, like affirmations is powerful. What you speak about yourself is powerful.
Yeah. And that's why I always say it's not just inspirational, positive, conscious music. I'm not just expressing my story because I want to be authentic in my music. I am saying affirming sentences, affirming lyrics. So when someone says it, when a child says it, when your mother says it, when a brother says it, they're talking to themselves. It's very important in the format of my songs that is I am, I will. Like I'm having a conversation with myself because that's where the power is, because you're practicing a language for loving yourself, affirming yourself. And that's the difference between affirmation music and something that's conscious or esoteric or inspiration, motivational and authentic. It's like, no, this affirmation music is full of affirmations I can say to myself.
Yes.
You know?
And let's talk about the power of those two words, I am. What do those words mean to you?
I am, well, I always say it's an acronym. It's I affirm me. So it's like to take something, to make it firm, to make it form. It's like almost like alchemy work. It's like you're taking this idea in your mind that you say, man, I am love. I am prosperous. I love the way I'm learning how to manage money better. You're taking this, what you're saying in your mind, you speak it. And when you're speaking it with your voice, with that audio, with that, you're vocalizing it, you're making it more firm.
Yeah.
You're giving it more matter, material. So when you speak it, it's like now you're able to project vocally what's coming from this unseen world of ideation, of the quantum world, and you're able to manifest it through your voice. So you're giving it more of a matter type of a image. And so then that once you start to speak it over and over again, now your life is starting to give you material to affirm more of what you're saying as this powerful tool to create and curate your physical world. So when you say I am, what I believe I am is I affirm me, meaning I create me, I alchemize my life, I affirm my life, I materialize my life. You see what I'm saying? I am the magician of my life.
Yes.
So it means a lot of different things, but when I think about I am, that's what comes up for me.
Wow, that is so powerful. So make sure y'all are using language that empower you, that make you feel good and whole inside, because the power of I am is powerful, right? What does it mean to take up space as a woman, and how do you empower others to do the same?
Well, I would say, first of all, buckle up, because take up space, sis, means so much. It means so much. It's like not shrinking your voice. I mean, where do we start? It's like, don't shrink your voice. Don't shrink yourself. Vocalize what you mean. Be straightforward. Use your words. Use your body language. When I say in the song, the boardroom, the bedroom, don't fake your pleasure. You know what I'm saying? Don't try and negotiate to accommodate other people. Don't be overly conscious of how people are perceiving and processing you. Center yourself or how you perceive yourself. Take up spaces lately has been meaning, oh man, when I'm getting triggered about bills or money's like the real stuff, it's like take up space by saying, that's handled. Let me go take a nap. That's handled. Let me go for a walk. Take up space so you can create spaciousness between the stimuli in your nervous system. You allow yourself to bask in the moment, the present moment, saying everything is going to be okay, because everything was okay in 2023, in January 2024, everything was okay in 1999. I'm still here. So the receipts of my past show me that I'm going to get through it all. So take up spaces now just means really create some spaciousness between all the things that try to distract me and my nervous system that wants to react and respond to it. Just say, woosah. There's space for me to rest. There's space for me to laugh. There's space for me to go for a walk. There's space for me to go eat some biscuits. There's space for me to, you know what I'm saying? Enjoy my day and have fun, even if I'm going through grief, even if I don't know where my next check is coming through, even if I don't have the most wholesome or harmonious relationship with my husband, my mom, or my kids. I have space for myself, and I'm going to take up by enjoying food, enjoying my life, enjoying the movie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So lately it's been that.
Ooh, y'all, this is so good. I hope y'all are enjoying this. Yeah, the audience, I hope you all are enjoying this. We're going to take a health break, and I want to talk to Toni about Herb and Flow. I have a company where I manufacture health food products.
Okay.
And I have things like sea moss gels, herbal capsules, and beverages. And today I brought you a special gift that I want you to try.
She got me some stuff.
Okay, so today I got you our elderberry hibiscus sea moss gel.
Okay. Thank you.
This right here is really good for building the immune system. Right now, we are in the winter months, so building our immune system is, very important for our health. So, and it's high in vitamin C with the hibiscus in there. It got a sour taste because the elderberries bring the sweetness. That hibiscus has a little tart sourness to it.
Wow.
So if you don't mind trying it right now,
Yeah,
let the people
I'll
know.
try. Now, let me just say this. Anytime
Yes.
people give me like, let's say bath products and health products, that's like giving me money.
Okay. Well,
It's like
look,
giving me
you
money.
rich today.
Because, or candles, stuff like that, because it's like caring for my temple. It's like feeling like I'm not alone in caring for myself. I got Brittany that's gonna put me on game on some stuff to take care of my body, because sometimes it's like a job. It's like, girl,
Yeah.
like, can somebody else self-love with me today?
Yes.
Okay,
real.
here I go.
Yeah.
It's cranberry taste.
I get
Add this
that.
into some dressing, cornbread. No, this is good.
Thank you.
Good. Because sea moss can have a little tang to it.
If you don't make it right.
If you don't make it right, you can taste like it can taste like you're tasting rocks in the sea. And it's like, that's nasty.
Right.
But this
for
is
sure.
good.
It's really
Yeah.
good texture. It goes down smooth.
It's very good. You did
Thank
that.
you so
Okay.
much. Yes. Boom.
Period. I love that. Thank you.
You know, it's so interesting when someone shows up positive, radiant like yourself.
Thank you.
There can be a lot of misconceptions about Toni Jones.
Yeah.
What are some misconceptions about you?
I don't know. It's none of my business.
Okay, because let me tell you then. For me as just a viewer, I'm like, okay, Toni must be vegan. She must meditate every day. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, these are some of the things, without knowing you, if I'm just listening to your music and I see you through social media, I would assume that.
No assumptions about me having it together.
Exactly.
Y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. Why use your imagination this way? Why use your imagination this way to make assumptions? Because no, I love me a good salmon, like wild caught. I love, butter sometimes on my biscuits. I got to plug in the biscuits because I love biscuits.
Yeah.
I really don't like to be organized. I'm not someone to be organized to say, oh, Toni is this label. Because within a year's time or within a month's time of growth, that label may, be completely gone and not true.
Right.
So I'm always evolving. Am I predominantly plant-based? Yes. When I go grocery shopping, majority of my groceries are plant-based. Not because I want to be labeled as this conscious vegan person, but because I know what my organs are.
Yeah.
Because I know what my blood flow needs. Because I know my lymphatics. Just all of these things. I understand my design and the architecture. So I have to have healthy things happening when it comes to me nurturing and taking care of my body. So, but as far as like misconceptions or things like that, it's really none of my business. I'm like, I try not to have misconceptions about myself. So trying to have space for misconceptions of others that may have of me, I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, you can't handle all of that.
I can't handle all that.
For sure. No, that is very true. Thank you for being vulnerable too and sharing that, because, it's not easy all the time to, like I say, just to be vulnerable and say, no, I'm not. I'm not perfect. I don't have everything figured out.
I am perfect though.
You are perfect.
I'm perfect.
I do believe in this theory that we're
That's the affirmation. Clock it.
that we're like imperfectly perfect, right? Because we have this idea of what perfectionism look like. But once you realize, like, no, I'm already perfect. You know what I'm saying?
We really are. And it's to say it and mean it and feel it, to know it, to be able to really drop into like, wow, I was born perfect. And then be able to look at all the things that people have said that are flaws, that are weaknesses. That's not part of our design. These are all this is all part of the recipe of our greatness. These are all ingredients that we get to alchemize and use. So the concept of that dual sense of nature of like, oh, I'm flawed. I'm like, are we though? Are we? I mean, when you go into nature and you see the dead leaves and the roots and destruction, the trees that fallen, it's like, oh, they're flawed, they're insecure, they're confused. It's like, no, this
Yeah.
is part of
Of the
the whole natural thing of being.
Yes.
So it's just like even the parts of us that's destroyed, or it's like, oh wow, how perfect is that? What can be made out of that? What's going to evolve out of that? And I say this not as a teacher, I say this as a student of this. I'm
Right.
still learning from everything that I share with you guys on this podcast. So I'm a more of a master student than a teacher.
Yes.
So all of this stuff comes from me taking my own medicine of like realization of these things on yesterday, this morning, last week. So I like to think of the affirmation, I am perfect, is really being able to see who you are naturally.
Yeah.
And being able to say, hey, if the sun and oxygen can say, hey, you're good enough for me to continue to show up for you.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I'm perfect to show up for me too. I'm gonna be just as consistent in that declaration that I'm perfect as is.
Wow. You know what's so deep? Sometimes our childhood, have there ever been a time in your childhood
Yes.
you
I
looked
don't
at
even know what you're about to ask. Yes.
that you looked at your parents or anyone that had a influential part in your childhood, and there were some characteristics that you didn't like about them, like my parents argue all the time, the way
Yes,
she
that was
treat this.
that.
But
Arguing.
have you seen that in yourself? Because sometimes what we don't like about other people as a child in our childhood, unfortunately, we become sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
I will not lately,
Okay.
but I do recall times when I was married. I was like, "Oh, that's my mama." Ooh, I don't like that. I said I would never do that. I would never say that. I would never become that. And somehow it just was on autopilot.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say, yeah. But again, that goes back to psychological development of being a human being.
Yeah.
Like you learn from what you download, through all your sensory, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
capabilities. You're downloading all of this information. So this information is going into the memory of your body, your nervous system, your mind. So, of course, some things have shown up where I'm like, ooh, that came from my mama. That came from this came from that.
Yeah.
But I'm rewriting that story.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Thank you so much for that again, because we oftentimes, we judge others because of the way they behave. So to say like, yes, I actually seen some things in myself that I didn't like that came from my mom, that came from these people that, had an influential part in my life. And to say I'm in the process still of reconditioning that. And then the level of understanding that you have about, the way the brain works and psychology and just the way we like our human behavior. What is a piece of advice or a book you can share or a movie you watch that can help people develop that sense of understanding of our humanness?
I will say one book that I just recommend to everybody is this book called Rest is Resistance by Tricia Hersey. And the reason why I like her book is because she touches on human nature, but she also touches on being born into a society that's cultivated by colonialism and capitalism and white supremacy. And being born into a society and a world culture that's centered around that, it can damage your whole identity of your existence, how you show up for your family, how you show up for yourself, how you show up, for your dreams or whatnot. So Rest is Resistance is a powerful book when you're approaching that deconditioning from workaholism, hustling in your healing, hustling in entrepreneurship, hustling for your purpose, hustling as a parent. It helps you decondition. That book, for me, that book has helped me decondition from that rush, that urgency to show up for everything and everyone, even for myself. It's like slowing myself down. I recommend that book to everybody because it really helped me just be more gentle in my process of that and reconditioning of yourself,
Yes. And before we about to start wrapping it up,
Okay.
but I want to read some of your tribe members. Do you have a name for your community of people?
Affirmation, yes. Anybody in in your community of your podcast, you guys can join. My website is iamtonijones.com. We're a lit community. We do field trips, affirmation, meditation. I can't stop talking about it. I'm very passionate about it because I know who we are and where we're evolving to. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I just want to read some of the comments of what people took away from your music.
Yes.
Okay, so this is Energy Budget. Check it out. Okay. All right, so I have someone that says, who's listening to this in 2023? Because, baby, this album has been a huge movement in my life. These are the lyrics the planet needs more of. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can cry with gratitude. I'm only learning to love myself, and this is my empowered state. This song is so dope. This whole album has been a part of my awakening. I healed with this song. I sang it 7 times back to back during my shadow work, and my discernment is out of this world. Thank you. Gotta listen to this every morning before you go into the world. So I have no words. She said everything. I just want you all just to, I'm reading the comments because that's how impactful music is on a journey to healing and to connecting. I feel like one of the reasons why I love music so much because it makes me feel like I'm not alone.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm ever any emotion I go through, I can play a song that makes me feel like I'm not alone. If I want to be happy and feel like I can take over the world, I can play this. If I want to be sad and I'm going through a heartbreak, I can play this. So the power of music on our journey to healing, to evolving, make sure you all tune into Toni Jones because she's going to change your life. And guess what? She has the most beautiful voice.
Oh, thank you.
You do. You're so calm. And one of the things too, when I saw you perform at Dharma Glow, shout out to Dejan. He's in the building, y'all. Founder of Dharma Glow. He created a space for you to show up. And I love the way you presented yourself because I was able to have a better feeling of Toni the human than Toni the artist. You know what I'm saying? You bridged that gap for me. And I was like, wow, I really do love this lady because it's so amazing because once you get connected to the artist, you put them on a pedestal and you think life is perfect, but it's like, nah, I'm human. I went through this. I have insecurities about this. So I just want to say thank you so much for just showing up.
Thank you for acknowledging. I appreciate that.
Yes. And
I'll
you
never
did such
get
a good
used
job.
to that. I'll never get used to how what comes up for people when they listen to my music or they get to be a witness of who I am as a person. So thank you.
Yes. So I want to close it out with, if you can leave the listeners with one affirmation to carry with them, what would it be?
I'm worth having a fantastic, majestic time in this life, having fun, enjoying my life, laughing and playing. I think we need to have a lot more real fun. So I will leave your listeners with that. Have some fun, y'all.
Okay.
Because this thing can get serious. So play.
And then looking back at your journey, what would you say to your younger version of yourself who was struggling to find her worth?
She did that. You did that, girl.
There we go.
Everything about her, she did everything so perfect. I'm so grateful for everything. Every fear she had, every tear she cried, every insecurity she had. You did that. She did all of it. She mastered insecurity. She took me through the journey to be who I am today. So I love her for that. So I would tell her, like, you did that, girl. Wow. I ain't got nothing to say to you. You did that.
Yeah. Or do you feel like you're living beyond the dream that you thought you had, thought you would have as a child or as an adult before you found your affirmation music?
No.
No?
I feel like I am living a wonder. I'm in awe of things. It's like, you know how babies, when they're born, they just looking at everything like, wow. what is that? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I feel. I'm like, wow, I'm an affirmation artist. Wow, I'm that beautiful inside out. Wow, like, wow, okay, you got fear today. Like everything is a big wonder. I wonder. I'm in awe of it all,
Yeah.
how it's unfolding. And I don't know how to completely, and I'm a words girl. I don't know how to completely put it in words to how I'm feeling right now. It's
Yeah.
just big spaciousness of all the things and nothing at the same time, and I'm in awe and wonder, and I'm just like, what else is here? What's good? What more good can I see in this life? So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. And what legacy do you hope to leave through your music, your message, and your presence in
I
the
have an
world?
interesting relationship with the word legacy
Okay.
because I don't want to leave no legacy with nobody. I'm like, if I was to leave anything, it's like I want to leave you with you. You, like, if you're with you and you locked into you, let it not be about Toni. Let Toni Jones come and go.
Yeah.
And you are everything that is sourcing me to show up the way I'm showing up. I'm not big on leaving. I'm living that right now. And I feel like everybody should, in my opinion, I feel like everybody should be living their legacy now, not leaving a legacy. And let that legacy be like, you are your own source,
Yeah.
you are the you are the icon. So
There we go. And I ask every guest one last question.
what?
What is one piece of advice you would like to share to the world? I
I'm
know we
so
did.
silly. Okay, I was about to say something silly. This is serious. Okay, Toni, get it together. A piece of advice I would say: make your request known to the spirit world. Just make your request known. Just really put it out there, like what you truly want. Say it out loud. Don't just write it down. Writing down is powerful. Record yourself saying it. And the reason why I give that piece of advice, because that's what I'm saying to myself now.
Yeah.
Opening my mouth and hearing myself, shoulders up, neck up. I want this. I deserve, like really saying it out loud and being honest about it.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, make your request known to the spirit world. Let everything hear you.
Yes.
Even if you go into nature. I want new pillows. I want a new, like, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
that.
And for anyone out there who might struggle with this idea that it's too good to be true. Because sometimes when you're on a spiritual journey and life is unfolding, or maybe you haven't got to that point, but you see someone around you doing it and you see their life is unfolding in this magical way, just know it's not too good to be true because it can happen to you. Like life is waiting for you to call it, right?
You gotta call
it's
it.
waiting for you to speak it out loud. I was just had another episode interview with KT Arch Degree, and he was saying that the first dimension is we're in the mind. The second dimension is writing it out and saying, like, we have to really speak it. We have to write it down for it to come forth into the third and fourth dimension. So don't be afraid to speak and to call upon something higher to help you. Because
Yeah.
help is around us, not learn. And I see that in children's movie. Like
Yeah,
one of my
right?
favorite movies, The Elephant Magician, is literally about these unforeseen forces helping you along your journey.
The
Like
Elephant's Magician? Okay.
you got to check it out. It's on
Okay, I will.
Netflix. And Muhana. Oh man, that was such a great movie.
Inside Out is good too.
I seen that too. And these kid movies, it just reminds us that it's all working out. Everything is okay. It's all on time. We're all on time no matter what you're going through. It's on time. If you're sitting here watching this, it's on time.
Yeah.
Your time is here. It's now. Call it out. Write it out. And I hope you all took away something today from this episode. And I just want to say thank you again, Toni Jones,
Absolutely.
for
Thank you.
coming on, for sharing your message, for sharing your advice to the world so other women can go along their journey, and they can take those pieces of you inside of them to help them become who they are supposed to be. And your music, once again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out Toni Jones. I mean, she's searchable.
IamToniJones.com.
I am
Toni with
Toni
an
Jones.
I.
Google
Everything
it.
is on
Google
there.
her. You know. So thank you again.
Thank you.
It was such a good time.
Thank you for having me.
And make sure you all leave something in the comments. Let me know what you thought. If there's anything you took away from today's episode, make sure you leave it in the comments. Share this episode with your friends. Make sure you like. And I will catch you next time. Peace out.
Peace.